Hi, it's Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And it's very fitting today that today's interview is in my kitchen because my guest today is a nutritional therapist. She's an author, a speaker, and the founder of Happy Hormones for Life, helping women to get back to their absolute best, feeling slimmer, energized, more productive, and in full control of their hormones. After failing to find any medical help for her symptoms of exhaustion, weight gain, and hormone issues in her early 40s, she discovered that she could turn things around using diet, lifestyle changes, and natural supplements. And she went on to qualify as a nutritional therapist and hormone expert. And now she helps women all over the world with her online programs, her workshops, and her individual and group coaching. So today it's a big Hot Women Rock welcome to Nicki Williams. Hi, Nicki.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So tell us about this. How did your career start? Because obviously you've made this big change along the way.
Yes. Now, I started off the opposite of any kind of nutrition and health expert. I was in the corporate world for many years, and then I had some children, a couple of children in my early 30s. And then when I went back, it just didn't suit my lifestyle. I was exhausted. I couldn't handle the stress associated with juggling everything. So I ended up through all those issues, finding out that it was my hormones. And then I ended up getting very fascinated by the whole diet, lifestyle and hormone issues, and ended up retraining. And I went back to college, and then I started a business doing this because it was a real passion to me to get this information out to as many women as possible, to stop them suffering and suffering needlessly, because I really felt there was a lack of help and support out there because I'd been through it myself.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So the first part of your career, you were in corporate?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I went from university and I joined the usual corporate route out of that. I hadn't got a clue what I wanted to do. Ended up in purchasing, of all things. I didn't even know what that was. But I worked for some really cool companies and had a great time doing it. But
Yeah.
like a lot of these things, it suited my lifestyle at the time, but certainly wasn't something I wanted to do when I had children, and it really wasn't my passion. It was just something that I ended up doing.
Yeah, and so many people, when you talk to them, they drift into that early career, and perhaps it serves them well and they enjoy it, and then they just get to that stage where they think, this isn't exactly what I wanted. So you started to experience some hormonal issues. What was the sort of thing that you were experiencing?
I was in my early 40s. My children were still young, and I'd gone back to the corporate world. And like I said, I was just really stressed out with it all, trying to juggle family, a household, a marriage, some sort of social life, and getting everything done, and then having a job as well, which was it was all too much. And I was, whereas in the past I might have dealt with that stress quite well, I just really wasn't dealing with it. I was absolutely exhausted, real brain fog, really, really grumpy to be around. Just ask my family what I was like back then. It was just not very nice to be around. And I had a lot of weight gain as well, which was really annoying me because I used to be a real yo-yo dieter. I'd go from one fad diet to the next and kind of binge in between, and it always used to work, and now the diets weren't working, and I'd had this sort of tie around my middle that I couldn't shift, and I just didn't have the energy to do much about it.
What was your pivotal moment? What was the thing that you just thought, I've really got to do something?
Yeah, I was carrying on, just kind of thinking, and in this sort of trudge and thinking, I looked around me, a lot of women were sort of putting up with the same things. And I thought, maybe that's just the way it is, carrying on and not really having much energy. But there was a moment, and it was, I remember it really well, actually. I was standing at my kitchen sink. I'd been at work all day. I'd fed the kids, and think it's sort of in a bit of a numb kind of drifting kind of fog, thinking I had to do a report for the next day. My boss had asked me to get this thing done. it was already like 7:30 and I had absolutely no energy. I just wanted to go to bed. My brain wasn't working. I was thinking, I've got to get this thing done. How on earth is it going to happen? And thinking in that, just panicking about that, when my daughter ran in, she was 7 at the time, and she'd been to school and done a beautiful picture of a giraffe. She knew that was my favorite animal. She came running in, mummy, look at my picture. And I just turned around and shouted at her. I said, not now, Sasha. And her face kind of crumpled and she glared at me. She was quite feisty. And she just said, Mummy, why are you always so grumpy? And it was like a sort of stab in the back. It really did. And I just thought, I've got to do something about this. This is not who I wanted to be when I had children. I wanted to be a fun mum.
Yeah.
Certainly didn't want to be this grumpy mum that I turned into. So that's when I decided to get some help.
And you got some help quite close to home, didn't you?
Well, I started out going to the doctor, which is what everybody does. So I went to my local GP. I sat there for my 10 minutes, used up the whole 10 minutes with all my symptoms. By the time I got to the end of it, he just looked up and gave me a prescription. And I looked down and it said Prozac on it. And back in those days, that was the thing at the time. And I looked at it and I thought, oh gosh, what? I had no inkling that I was depressed or that I needed that kind of medication. But I thought, well, maybe I do. He's my doctor. But then I realised, I knew deep down that wasn't the right path for me.
Yeah.
It is for many women, but it wasn't what I needed at the time. And I kind of knew that, but I didn't know what I needed. So I was pretty fed up having been and not really finding the answer. So yes, I do happen to have a dad who is a natural health doctor. Now, of course, why would I not go to him first? Well, he's my dad, and he was absolutely my last resort. I wasn't going to listen to his advice. But I thought, actually, maybe all that advice over the years, maybe I should have listened to some of it. But so I went to him and I just said, look, Dad, I've been to the doctor. He wants to give me Prozac. Am I depressed? What's going on? My life's a mess. My kids hate me. I'm really exhausted. I don't know what's happening to me. And he said, Nick, it'll be your hormones. And I said, well, I'm only 42. How could it be my hormones? So he said, yeah, you're in perimenopause. And that was a bit, whoa, hang on a minute. I didn't really know what he was talking about. And I didn't really understand why I was in this phase. And he said, well, let's get you tested and find out, because I know you won't believe me otherwise. So we did all these tests and it turned out I had sort of 5 or so different hormone imbalances. And I was like, wow, I was actually really relieved, because it was something physical rather than just, in my head or me imagining it, or just the fact that I was getting older.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So from that, then you got the help for yourself. And was that the thing that said to you, well, other women need this as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because I actually, I didn't go on HRT or anything like that. I just started changing my diet to support my hormones, because I'd always been this yo-yo crazy dieter and thought that was the way to go. But actually realised that after 40, you need to be looking at your hormones and getting them working for you, because they're the ones that dictate your metabolism and how much weight you put on and how much fat you burn and your energy levels and your mood. So until I realised that, I had no idea. So I tweaked my diet, made sure I was getting the nutrients in I needed for my hormones, and I tweaked my lifestyle. I was doing a lot of stuff that I didn't really need to be doing, and took some really targeted supplements as to what I was going through. So within a few weeks, that made a massive difference. I started losing the weight that I hadn't been able to shift. My brain fog lifted, my energy came back, and my mood was so much better. I was just more fun to be around. So it was quite a dramatic improvement just by changing a few things that I didn't, realize that I was doing. And that's when I realized that this information isn't out there for most women. So I got really fascinated by it, and that's when I decided to retrain.
Excellent. Well, I met you not that long ago, and I can definitely report that you're this slim, yummy mummy now. So
I wish.
Well, I've seen your yoga mat. I know that you're into all of that, so it's great. So this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, talking to Nicki Williams, who founded Happy Hormones for Life. So I just want to talk a bit more now about the entrepreneurial side of this. What are the skills that you brought from the early part of your career when you were working corporate? How did you bring them into becoming an entrepreneur? Because there's so much to learn.
There really is, and it did. My corporate career did help me with a lot of it, but there was so much more than I ever anticipated. I think when you learn and you skill yourself in a therapy of some sort, you think that's all you need. When
Yeah.
you come out and there's another mountain to climb, if you like, of business skills that no one really tells you that you need to actually make money from what you're doing, because if you're not making money from it, you're not helping anyone. So
Mm.
that was a big eye opener. I think from my corporate career, I was bringing communication skills. I had obviously had some computer skills already, and I'd had already managed a big team, so that really helped in terms of sort of leadership and kind of, because once you start a business, you're CEO straight away. So you have to, even though you're doing everything yourself, you still have to manage a lot of relationships, and be different people to different things to different people. So that really helped. But I had so much more that I didn't know, and that was quite a big journey for me to start.
Yeah, but the other thing is that you've invested a lot in yourself, haven't you? I mean, not just investing the time and the money to become a nutritional therapist, you've invested a lot in developing yourself for your business as well.
Yes, because when I obviously the actual nutrition training was a massive investment. 4 years actually, and in a private college, so that was a big investment. But and I thought I'd be able to just come out and start earning money straight away and pay that back. But actually, what happened is I started with the traditional model of nutritional therapy, one-to-one, very pretty low cost stuff, and I did that for 3 or 4 months, and I actually realized I was losing money and I wasn't
Yeah.
going to be able to sustain this and help the people that I wanted to help. So I realized that model wasn't going to work, and I had to change things, and I didn't quite know what to do because I'd not been trained in that. So I was attending various business courses and things like that, and the usual how to do social media, all this stuff, but it actually wasn't working that well because I just wasn't investing enough in myself and getting a proper coach. So that's what I needed to do. So I actually, and yeah, I dug deep and borrowed some money and invested in a business coach, which for 12 weeks, it made a massive difference. It meant that
Yeah.
I could start creating packages that would allow me to just have a business that was sustainable, basically. So it's
Yeah.
a huge thing, and also have the belief. He instilled the belief in me that actually what I was offering was of real value, and that I should value myself more, because as a lot of therapists do, we don't necessarily value what we offer enough, and that's where we can get into this sort of low cost mentality,
Yeah.
and actually really struggle.
Yeah, and that's what worries me with the phrase, heart-centered businesses, because a lot of those that are called that are women's businesses. And also, it seems to suggest that the money isn't important. But if you don't make money, you can't offer the service. And, so the financial part of it might not be what motivates you, but unless you get some financial reward for what you're doing, you haven't got a business and you can't keep going offering the service that you do.
No, and you can't attract clients because you haven't got the money to go and advertise and get your message out there. So it's a vicious circle in the end. And you're right, absolutely right. A lot of heart-centered business, whatever that means, they feel a little bit ashamed in the money side of things, and you've got to get your money story sorted, because a lot of us women have this thing with money, that if we feel dirty asking for money, or we feel, as soon as we have the sales conversation, we all
Yeah.
panic and go, oh my God, I've got to talk about money now. And that's it is typically female, I have to say. A lot of men don't tend to have that problem, so I think it's a female issue, generally. And I really think we have a lot of stories around money, and you have to clear those stories, because if you're, like you say, if you're not making money, you're out of business and you're not helping anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your top tip for a new either midlife or mid-career entrepreneur? What would you say to them?
Um, just make sure I would say invest as much in your business and mentoring side of things as you do in your actual skills.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is that many of my colleagues have carried on studying. And I think that's another thing we get into, that we're not good enough. We don't know enough. We can't possibly charge that until we've done another course. And you know that, unless, you know, you're doing that for a hobby and you're financially fine, you know, and you just love it, then fine. But if you're doing it to be better at what you do, I think, you know, it can be a mistake, because you just end up in this constant, I'm never good enough, never good enough.
Yeah.
And actually, you are good enough. You already know way more than your clients know, and you can really help them where you are now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
stop
always
this
that
endless cycle of study.
Yeah. It's always that thing, you know, it's the next course is going to be the one that makes you truly credible. And as you say, you already know so much.
Yeah.
It's just about believing in that. I mean, in Hot Women Rock, I talk about that whole belief piece, because what you believe about yourself is just so important, not just to you, but to how your clients respond to you. If they think you don't believe in yourself, why should they believe in you?
It is absolutely the game changer. If you start believing in what you're doing and the value it offers for these people, you can talk about the price. You can ask for a higher price for your services and not feel icky about it. Actually, you're offering this amazing service that is going to help someone completely transform their life.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about it like that, and you're good enough to be able to help them, then, you know, it makes that whole conversation and not about sales. It's about the service that you're offering and being rewarded for that.
Yeah, and that whole bit around service, I was at a conference recently, and what came away from it was service. The better the service that you're offering your clients, the more you attract people to you. And, you know, you've got these skills, you've got the knowledge, you've got the experience, you can provide such a great service. So, yeah, new entrepreneurs, think about the service that you're offering.
Yeah.
You're offering a lovely service at the moment, because I just happen to have a copy of your new book. Tell us a little bit about the book, Nicki.
Yeah, the book. I wrote it. I was so lucky. I was able to get away last summer, and my husband was working in the States, so we had 7 weeks away. And I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to get this book down. And I was going to write it a lot earlier in my career, but I'm so glad I didn't. It was the right moment, because I'd got, you know, a few years under my belt of clinical experience. I could use that in the book. And it was such a, well, it was difficult, I have to say. Like, I'm not going to pretend it was easy. I don't think I'm a natural book author or whatever, but, you know, the process, I love writing when I get into it, but it was just, you know, it's like going to the gym, isn't it? Oh, do I have to? You actually get there, it's okay, but it's that kind of thing.
But it's got some great advice. It's easy to follow. It's a good read. You know.
Thank you.
Who is it aimed at? Who's going to really benefit from your book?
It's like it says on the front, the essential guide for any woman over 40 trying to fight the weight gain, trying to stay balanced, trying to have her energy, and just really feeling like her best again, because sometimes we can lose ourselves, and it's hard to find your way back. And it's literally just, you know, balancing those hormones that really help. So there's sections in the book that there's sections on, you know, actually what's happening to you, because many women don't even realize what's happening to them. And then there's the practical stuff as to what do we do about this? You know, what dietary, what foods really affect our hormones? Should we be eating? And it's not necessarily the advice we've been given over the years. So it's things like, you know, we want to be eating lots of fats, because that helps your hormones be produced, be transported, and all the good fats, obviously. But, you know, things like, you know, the things we've been told not to eat over the years, and not necessarily the advice from the government or the NHS.
Yeah, fantastic. So I will put the link to that underneath our videos, so that our viewers can find a copy of that. How else can people contact you if they want to find out more about what you do, or they want to work with you? How should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's happyhormonesforlife.com. On there /contact, there's a contact page. You can email me from there, or you can email me Nicki, Nicki at happyhormonesforlife.com. And we offer free discovery calls. You can have a chat with me about what your issues are and how we could possibly help you. And I've got an online course as well, which is an easy 30-day program, which anyone can do to balance their hormones.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicki. We've not only had hormonal advice, we've had entrepreneurial advice as well. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome, Pat. Thanks for asking me.
It's great. So anybody watching, you'll be able to see how to contact Nicki. And if you've got stuck in the doldrums in your entrepreneurial midlife, then I'm putting my contact details there as well. It's pat@patduckworth.com. You can ring me for a free 30-minute chat about how you can move yourself forward and get a bit unstuck. So thank you for watching, and see you again next time.